open up our session today reading our primary verse. I will praise thee, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Marvelous are thy works, and that my soul knoweth right well. Psalms 139, verse 14. Our bodies are such a wonderful demonstration of God's incomprehensible skill, power, and goodness. It really should inspire us with the deepest feelings of admiration and awe, and full cooperation in caring for them. I am so excited for you today, for this episode will take you through a fascinating journey regarding what is known as 3D breathing. Have you heard of it? Here is what will be explained. Today's lineup includes the definition of 3D breathing, your personal breath, identifying breathing dysfunctions, the fascia, how the brain responds, what stress can do to shape your fascia and hinder healthy movement. Lotte Paarup is a Danish physiotherapist expert in conscious breathing therapy called 3D breathing. Lotte shares her expertise in using gentle approaches to release tension and create space for better breathing, challenging common misconceptions about forceful stretching and aggressive breathwork techniques. Here is Lotte Paarup.
When we cry, it's a breath. When we laugh, it's a breath. When we sigh, it's a breath. When we get angry, it's a breath. When we are scared, afraid of something, then the breath reacts.
Can you talk to me a bit about what is this three-dimensional breath? Can you just explain that to our listeners, please?
Yeah. Well, three-dimensional. Well, it is this way, and this way. So with no terms about it, just looking in different dimensions. That when we breathe, well, breathing is a movement that can be felt inside of us and outside. With our hands and with our inside perception, with the interoception. So when we breathe, we're designed three-dimensionally because the lungs, they are placed three-dimensionally in our rib cage. It's not only in the front like many people think. They fill up the whole rib cage all the way to the back. Even in the back, there are more alveoli, more of the gold area in the low back area of the lungs where you can oxygenate. So the lungs are three-dimensional. The diaphragm, the breathing muscle, as I also pronounce it, is three-dimensional. So it's attached all the way to the low back, all of the ribs, the last big part of the ribs, and to the front behind the sternum. So everything around breathing is three-dimensional anatomically. And when you breathe, it is a movement that can be felt if you tune in to that. And that is a three-dimensional movement too. If you're going to use your lungs efficient and optimal, and if you use the diaphragm efficient and optimal, it should be a three-dimensional movement. Not that the diaphragm moves to right or left or back or front. It still moves down like it's designed to do when you breathe in, and up when you breathe out. So it's like that dome that is lowering a little bit on the inhale and highering a little bit on the exhale. So that creates a change in the pressure in your lungs. So they expand. The rib cage expands three-dimensionally on the inhale, and on the exhale, it decreases three-dimensionally. The same in the lower body. So below the diaphragm and the lungs, there also is the change of pressure. which is a three-dimensional pressure too. So the movement, when you push to your organs, etc., it all has to move somewhere, so it pushes to what's beneath. So that's why also, because you feel most on your front side in your abs, typically you're told that you should breathe into your abdomen and feel the movement in your abdomen. And that is a very important key area for this three-dimensional breath. But typically, people has a tendency to forget that that movement also goes in all of the other directions, to the sides, to the back, and all the way to the pelvic floor, actually. So that's why I pronounce the breath we're designed to use. It's not my breath, but it's the breath we are all designed to use. I pronounce it as a three-dimensional movement, so that's why 3D breath came up for me.
I love it. I love it. And you say that breathing is simple, but why is it that you think so many of us are getting the breathing wrong?
Why we breathe not that good, wrong? Yeah, why?
Yeah.
Well, because every reaction or every move, everything happening in your life, around you, inside of you, whatever, every thought has its own breath. So if you if I get scared right now, I actually got a little bit scared because there was a big, huge car on the road. So I was like, it changed my breath immediately, even though I didn't want to. It's automatically in my brainstem. I change my breath upon what's happening right now. So if something is happening very much in your life, might be stressful partnership, or a stressful job, or whatever, stressful relation, everybody can relate to something they find not good and nice. So if something is like that is happening over and over and over each day, then it gets a pattern. Then you breathe in a way that fits into that feeling. So nowadays, we have, in the life we live on this earth, we have many stressors. So each of us has different lives and different good things and bad things. So when we have these stressors in life, it can also be traumas. I mean, the big, huge ones, like volcanoes exploding, in our life. Then it also can be that big of an explosion that your breath kind of reacts and then gets stuck into that pattern. So you hold it somehow. So what I'm trying to say is that, what are you doing, Mike, if I scare you now? What are you doing? You get scared? Afraid? Yeah, you do. And what about your mouth? What does it do?
Yeah.
Yeah. Shoulders up. You hold your breath, mouth open, and everybody listen to some of your podcasts. They already might know that breathing through the mouth is not that efficient. We're designed to breathe through the nose for nursing every good physical thing in our body and mentally. So when we are scared, afraid of something, then the breath reacts. Also, when we cry, it's a breath. When we laugh, it's a breath. When we sigh, it's a breath. When we get angry, it's a breath. So what I'm trying to say again is that all of our feelings have a specific breath following. We don't walk around thinking of that. But when we are nerdy people like us, we should know that. And that's one of my explanations to why we are so many people that don't use our breath like we should, actually, like we were designed to. Because it changes because of the life conditions we have around us.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of a survival for some of us.
Yeah, it's interesting, all the noises that we make at different parts of our life. You know, I got a little baby, and when he's pooping, it's like he makes a grunt, you know, and he's just, there's all these different, it's very interesting, all these different
And
things.
it's all a breath. Yeah.
All the breath, yeah, all this comes back to the breath. So we're a very practical podcast, and we like to, you know, fix things if we can. So could you talk to us a bit with your physiotherapy background and what you do? What are you doing with clients? First of all, how are you screening? How are you identifying that they've got a breathing dysfunction? And then let's talk about maybe some of the solutions that you use after.
I like that question because, well, I don't do a bowl score or the Buteyko method. They use another term that is Patrick McCune using the bowl score, etc. There's so many different names going on about how long can you hold your breath, how slow can you breathe. I also count the breath a lot, etc. But basically, first of all, before looking at anything else, I look at a client and I examine and I observe actually with my eyes, first of all, and then with my hands, how the movement in that specific body is happening. So the movement I just talked about biomechanically, how is that movement happening? Different positions, because our breath changes its circumstances and its conditions when you change the position to gravity and the surface and the position of the body. So when you lie on your back, the breath has one certain pattern in a body, in a person. And when you change into a vertical position, it changes a lot, or into side lying, for example, or into front lying. So I look in different basic positions, and of course also in vertical. And then I check this movement just by observing with my eyes and then with my hands. And I also integrate the client's examination itself. I mean, how they experience, and they can feel with their own hands too. So then I identify, okay, does it move or does it not move as I would like it to do for a normal breath? And typically I see that many people nowadays, they are very much stiff. I mean, blocked would be the right word, but it's very negative. So I would say more they are stiff. They are like duct tape, you know, tape that are not elastic. They are like they had some duct tape on specific parts of their torso, where they should expect movement when they breathe, but no movements comes in because it's simply too stiff. What is too stiff? The joints, the tissue. It is the fascial tissue, especially the muscles, everything, the nerves, everything around in that area gets stiff when it's not used. So then I see, where do they actually move when they breathe? Because everybody's breathing. Everybody has their own breath. That's
Really?
very, very nice to know. So we all have a strategy. So I look, examine, I note it down, and then I will always see a connection to the way you use your breath and to what the person told me. So it could be about their challenges, if they have asthma, or they're stressed, or they're anxious. There's always kind of a connection between what I see and what I hear. That's very interesting.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, so that's the first part of my examination, and also listening and talking very much, because I really believe and see practically that our life goes together with the way, the strategy, the biomechanic that the body uses for breathing.
So when you're looking at the client, that's really interesting. So you have them in different positions and you're looking at where the breath is going. just give us a flavour of what you're looking at? I mean, and this is where I want to get your opinions. Like, is it the shoulders and the chest versus the belly? Is it something else? Throat? Well, give us an idea of some of the things that you're looking at.
I just want to pick my little abdomen, because it shows quite good what I'm trying to look for. So I look for the expansion, like I was talking about in the beginning, the three-dimensional expansion on the inhale. And how does it work on the exhale? That's just as important, even more important. So I know then that most of the movements should be on the front and the abdomen, because that is the softest area. There's less resistance in the front part of the body and the abdomen. So we should see the most movement here. And then I look for the expansion to the sides laterally. There should be quite a lot. And in the back, even in the low back, even in the sacrum, which is the back part of the pelvis, even in the tailbone, even in the very low abdomen. But most of the movement should happen just around the lower ribs. So the very lower ribs, where the diaphragm has its biggest power, we should see the most movement. And then I look, okay, does that movement also happen in the rib area, in the rib cage, even in the front, in the sides, in the back? And is it a movement that goes up and down, which I don't like, which is more a superficial and a movement with the upper area of the breathing muscles? Or is it a movement that goes three-dimensional? And that's what I'm looking for. So I look for... I have a kind of I know how it should look like. That's what I teach in my educations, of course. And then I also teach it to everybody, because everybody should know it, not only in my educations, but everybody should know it. But as a teacher, you should know it very well. And then I note where I would like more movement. Where do I not see the movement I would like to see? And then we start working on that.
It's cool. So let's get into that then. So I'm very interested. You should just talk a little bit about fascia and breathing, because I know like a tiny bit about fascia, but almost like I could say like 2 sentences and that's it. So could you explain to us like fascia, what it is, and then how it relates to your work and mechanical breathing?
Well, I see the fascial system in the body, the most important system. It's also the newest system that we got to know very well, actually, anatomically wise and scientifically wise. So that's very nice, because it gave a lot of answers for nerdy body people like me. Because why do you get sore, and why does an area hurt? It should not hurt, but when you touch it, it hurts, and when you move it, it hurts. Why is it like that? And the science and the knowledge we have now behind fascia tells us a lot about it, because the fascial tissue is very intelligent. It is actually that intelligent that they tell us, the science tells us that it has 6 times more proprioception, which is information to the brain from the tissue, than any other tissue in your body. So 6 times more information comes from the fascia tissue compared to any other tissue in your body. And for me, that gives me so much important information about why and how and what we should do about the breath, because around the ribs, around everything, around the spine, in between everything, you are filled with fascial tissue. It's not really shown in the anatomy books like it is for real. Hopefully it will be one day, but someday, but it's not for now. So you have to look into the newest nerdy people working with that. So what we see and what we know now is that the fascial tissue, when it's not moved, So when you don't move your rib cage when you breathe 24/7, I mean every day, day and night, then when it's not moved, that movement from the inhalation, exhalation, then it stiffens. So is it the same when you don't move your arm, the tissue stiffens? And it loses its ability to work like a rubber band. I actually have a rubber band like here. So your rib cage should be like a rubber band. Then when you inhale, it expands. And actually it creates some kind of a tension. And when you exhale, it releases. And the tension kind of, the energy it was building is set off. It releases somehow. So, and that follows the breath too. Well, the fascial tissue I find very intelligent also because the lungs, they are just behind that rib cage, which should be very flexible. And the lungs are very flexible, but they also get inflexible if the rib cage doesn't move like it was supposed to. So when we get stiff, the fascial tissue starts getting, like the rubber band should be like this, then it gets like I get a double. It's very, very, very difficult to pull. So that's just to make sure you understand what I say. So, to get back to the fascial tissue and the breathing, then I find that this is the tissue that is around everything in the rib cage, in the abdomen, in the back, in the pelvis. And when you start working with that tissue, you create space for breathing. And I don't work with it with a normal stretch for a beginning. Typically, I don't do. Sometimes I do. But I rather like to work with equipment balls. We are rolling on balls. It is 3D breath balls. Or I roll on a rolled towel. I massage the rib cage and all of the areas of the 3D breath on a rolled towel. Or I use my hands to release the tissue. And of course, in my background as a physiotherapist, I also like manual treatment. On a treatment table, going to your physiotherapist, your chiropractor, whatever you want to go. And that is a very bit useful thing to do. But it doesn't change your breath in the long term. You need to help yourself every day for a period of time to change that habit the body has and to change the tissue. If we talk about the fascia, so the fascia are gonna change to the negative side again if you been to treatment and then you go back two weeks later to the same treatment, but what did you do in between? Then the fascial system went back to its baseline again. Does this all make some kind of sense?
It's really interesting. I'm curious, when it comes to the fascia and stretching, because I'm very tight. I'm very, very tight. So this is very interesting for me as well. I heard this quote the other day and it just stuck with me. And the person said to me, tension won't release tension. And I was like, what do you mean? He goes, well, if you're too tight and you're pulling, it's not going to do anything. Is there any truth to that? And how, because I want to talk about the balls with you in a second, but when it comes to stretching, what's best? Static stretching, dynamic moving stretching, all of it, none of it?
Well, honestly, I'm not a fan of stretching.
Oh, tell me why.
The thing is that if you are tied somewhere, it can be of many different reasons. Simply, you don't use your breath optimal, and then the rib cage stiffens. Okay, then you're stiff. But why are you stiff? Are you stiff because you sit at a desk every day and don't move? Maybe that's the case for many people today. Or are you stiff because your rib cage did hold you because you are having many stressors in your life. Because every tension in my book, in my body book, my book of the body, every tension in a muscle or a tissue, in the fascial system itself also, any tension has a relation to something in your life. And it's not because I'm a psychiatrist now or I go into that, more what is going on in your brain. I just talk about what is going on in your body. So in my book, your body reacts, not only your breath, but your body reacts with attention upon everything that happens. And it could be from your childhood, actually. It doesn't have to be from yesterday. So if you are stiff and hold yourself somewhere, it's not because you wanted to, it's just an automatic response to defend or to kind of take care of yourself, to kind of put yourself in a more safe position. So it's on the first hand, it's good, but on the long run, it's not good. So for me, if you start stretching that area that had that reaction, even from sitting in front of on the computer on the desk, then you start stretching it. It's just saying, now I'm talking as a tissue. It's just saying, no, don't stretch me because you need me. You need me to hold you. You see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't find it that beneficial. I know many people don't agree with me, but I know just as many does. So I want to expand it a little bit because when you start working differently, we're releasing the tissue, not stretching, but releasing, with balls or something else, hands, whatever you could find useful, help from somebody who can teach you how to do it, of course. When you start doing that, then I find people start crying. Suddenly they start, wow, tears crying, or they laugh, or they say, wow, now I know why this feels like this. Because when you start working with your fascial tissue, because it's that intelligent, then old history comes to the surface. Again, it's not psychiatry work, it's not cognitive talking work, but it's body work. So when you release tissue more specific than you do with a stretch is like, now I use my rubber band again. A stretch is stretching the long line, okay? But when you massage with a ball or something else in a specific area, for example, in the chest area, I work quite a lot, not as the first thing, but after some while, I do it in this area. When you work more specifically into the joints, from the sternum to the ribs, etc., then you see the changes in their mood, in their body, because then it releases and it comes to the surface and you can actually let it flow away. Instead of you use that, I don't remember what you said now into the intro to the stretching, but somebody told you something. Don't use
tension won't release tension.
Exactly. I love that sentence. So tension won't release tension. So if I'm having some tension here, then in my practical workbook, it doesn't really need to stretch it with tension, But if I massage it just with my fingers, actually, and then I could add in a little bit of a stretch, this is much more effective. Also because you get the history behind it to the surface.
Okay, this is very interesting and exciting because I've heard people talk about release before, but I've never understood that. So you would stay away from the stretch, work with the release. We can do some release on ourselves. Could you show me some release now? Is there a couple of things
Let's do something that is easily shown on a camera. So we can work on our chest, on our sternum, actually. So now we can use our fingers, just our fingers. We tap the sternum like this. This is a tapping sound. So we just wake up the tissue right now, just on the front, and you can go to the sides. You can go to the low part of the rib cage also. Now you give information to the brain about this area. Now you can stroke it a little bit with a hand from top to the bottom, also on one side. My left lung and my right lung. In between the lungs, we have the heart. I work very much with this embodiment way of working, that you can kind of visualize what's behind what you're doing, what is inside of you. So now use your fingers more intense onto your sternum, which is just here where the clavicles are. It starts, and now I use my fingertips moving the tissue a little bit from side to side, and then I move down with my fingers. It may be a little bit sore. Are you a little bit sore here, Mike?
It's a bit tender, yeah.
It's a bit tender. Okay.
And so are you like just rubbing the middle bit, or are you actually getting into these bits?
No, I'm just in the middle right now.
Okay.
Just in the middle. We move in a while. And so also to the low part, you have the solar plexus. You don't have to push here, if you don't like to. Then you move your fingers up and down, just in the middle again. Yeah. And now just a short rest to sit here, just to pay attention to how that feels right now, how that information enters to your brain. Your brain loves information from your breathing area, actually from your body. But because we talk about breathing, that's very important now. So if you want to use your sternum, then touch it. And integrate it in your breath, then touch it. So every area that doesn't move, please touch it. So now, what I want to say before we continue to a little bit more, then I would say, if you feel tender, then it's not because you should be tender. We shouldn't be tender unless we push very hard. Why we are tender is, and it can hurt a little bit, is because it's an area that could function better. So it's an area that would like to have a little bit more of movement when you breathe. Every breath, just a little bit of a movement. So it needs more energy, and not just energy, but it needs circulation. And what comes with circulation? Oxygen, to nurse the tissue. We need that in the tissue. If we don't have enough of that, then it gets sticky, it gets stiff, and it gets tender. It can hurt also. Now use one of your hands. You can use your right hand and then go to your left side, and then use the fingertips from the sternum, and then use you were your own therapist. So you kind of massage just beneath your clavicle here. You massage. You can go on the outside of the shirt, and you can go on the inside of the shirt. It will work both, and a little bit different. Are you on one side now? Don't change side. Only stay on this side, right? So we move a little bit downwards. Women has a breast, so it's not that easy. Men is having an easier time, but we can go below the breast. And then we could also rub the ribs a little bit here. And the ribs, with the lifting the arm, then you have really a possible grip all the way from the top of the lung to the low of the lung. The lung lives just behind the ribs here. Okay, so go all the way to the low part of your lungs. Please remember to breathe. Typically, we hold our breath when we listen, when we do something new, so please release the breath now. Okay, release your arms, and then sit just for a few breaths here. And pay attention to how that feels. Compare one side compared to the other. Typically, the brain experiences the sides differently. How do you feel it, Mike?
Yeah, this side that I have not worked now feels very tight.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. This feels really loose.
Exactly. Yeah. So that is the purpose, actually, to also to let the brain know that when you breathe, it's okay to use that lung. It's okay to use that part of the diaphragm to pull in the lung, to move, to make that biomechanics working. So it is not a cognitive task. You could add that on. I mean, you could add the perception, etc. on, but right now it's just a physical task. We just made that side work even better. So let's just do very shortly the other side, Mike, if that's okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I can
balance out a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. So start with the sternum, and then start just below with the fingertips here, just below your clavicle also.
And how hard are we pressing?
Yeah, how hard? You choose how hard.
Okay.
The reason why I say you choose is because some of you might only be able to softly touch because you're so sore, so tender. But some of you can touch even harder. It is actually like that. Please differentiate. I mean, make it vary. I mean, that was the right word in English. Vary your touch.
Okay.
Because every variation, the fascial tissue loves.
Right. So you be gentle, be soft.
Yeah, change.
Be a bit more firm.
Vary, yeah. And then go to your ribs. All right. And remember to breathe. Just make sound. That's fine. You could also sigh it out. That's also good.
Yeah.
Good night. I love to teach people do some kind of a morning routine like this in all of their rib cage. They can do it in 5 minutes, like they brush their teeth, then they can brush their rib cage.
Brush the rib cage. I love that.
Yeah. Okay, very good, Mike.
This is actually really addictive. I feel like I could be here for like an hour.
Yeah.
And I'm just starting to like feel, oh, that feels really tight.
Yeah.
And, oh, that needs some work now as well.
Yeah. And how easy is it? It is quite simple, you see. And just you just need somebody to show it to you. And then the hard thing is to do it.
Okay.
So, yeah, you know humans, we are not that easy. So the hard thing is to remember to do it. Like you brush your teeth every day, then you should also do these kind of exercises every day, at least for a period of time, until you feel that your body changes its habits, its space. I mean, until it feels like you are freeing up the breath, so you create more space to breathe. It's not that I want you to do big breaths or anything. It's just to free up the basic, soft, nice, heartful, calm breath. Yeah.
So when we've done the brushing, do we need to do anything after? For example, do we need to then do some mobility or some yoga or something?
Yeah, it would be fantastic to add in, for example, a side stretch.
Okay.
And then breathe into the side.
Okay.
Then feel how the diaphragm moves. Let's do it. Just do a side stretch. If the arm is better like this, then you can do that. So just try to stay here in a side stretch. You can rest your other arm somewhere and then breathe. Try to breathe like moving the open side. Actually, the diaphragm has a position now to kind of push into the side. And then, like you did, Mike, it is fantastic to add a touch.
I could just feel, it's tight here now. I need to rub here.
You're very good. Yeah. You already got it. Then we can go back. So when I do stretching, I add the breath to move from the inside to create space from the mechanics inside. And then I use the position to kind of release the tissue with my hands, for example, even further.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Thank you for showing us that. That's really exciting because I have this tendency to go really hard, thinking that's going to solve it. I have to really stretch now, hurt myself.
Yeah. But Mike, that is actually one of my the hope of my work. I mean, to communicate that breathing should not be a fight. even a stretch should not be a fight. We fight enough in life. I mean, and then we have a tendency also to fight with the breath. You can't fight a breath. You can't for 1 or 2 minutes, you can fight it to be better. And then, wow, then you're back. So fighting a breath, I mean, trying to change it with power or something. What I've seen through the many years working with this, it's not what is changing anything in the long line.
Yeah.
So that's also why I really love to work into the feeling of the breath. So you have to get to know how it feels. You have to get to know how does it feel to expand all the way to the pelvis. How does it feel to make the backside of your breath, of your body move when you breathe? Because when you get to know how it feels, it's going to change everything. If you don't know how it feels, if just something that's in your brain, you know it theoretically and you know it how it should be and you can explain it with your words, but you can't do it with your body.
Yeah.
You don't need it. You can't use it, I mean. So that's my hope, that I'm able to make people aware that if they want to breathe better, they have to have another feeling of it in
That's
the
really
body.
nice. Yeah. Talk to us a little bit about the balls then. What's going on? Because I've seen people putting balls into their rib cage and they're lying face down on them. So if you could share a little bit about what's going on there and maybe give us some practical use cases of how we would use these balls.
Yeah. Well, typically I would use, now we talked about the front side, a little bit about the side. Then I can't show it right here, but I will turn my back a little bit to the camera. And then we would stand to the wall or we would lie on the floor. And then we would place the balls, 1 or 2 balls, depending on what we do, between the body and the floor. We will just lie on it and breathe. Then we will wiggle the body a little bit. Then we will move more. We will move in many different directions, move the arms and the legs and the body and move the balls around. So we will actually kind of move the skin over the bones. So kind of doing like a flesh, pull. So we'll kind of stretching it in many different directions. I typically use a picture like if you have long hair, you don't have, but many people have, and you have a knot in the hair, you see, then you have like you can't really do it with you can't comb it. Is it a comb?
Comb, yes.
Comb, yeah. So what are you going to do then? You have gently, and listen to the word gently, you have gently to pull it in many, many different directions to take it apart. You can't just do like this because then it tears or it gets worse. So that is a very good picture of what I want you to do with your body. If you find areas that are tender, that are stiff, then think about that hair dot. So you should move in many different directions. You should lie still, you should move. You should also use different push and pulls and body positions. Because just like I take this dot in the hair apart, otherwise the body is just gonna react like I hold, because that's not for me. And it's not gonna release that efficiently. Does this make sense?
It does. Okay. Do you synchronize the breath as well, for example? Do you get people to do a relaxing breath? Does that help? Can you explain that?
Definitely. So I use the inhale very much because when we were in that side bending, that is very simple again. We were like, try to imagine the diaphragm. It's a little too high here, but I can move myself back maybe then. Yeah, you can see it here. So the diaphragm is like this. When I do a side bend, do you see the position of the diaphragm? It's not here now, it's here. Okay?
Yes.
Yeah. So when it moves down and up, it pushes, the pressure pushes a little to the side. Do you understand that? Yeah.
Yes.
So here, the pressure goes all the way in this direction.
Right. Okay.
Here, yeah, the pressure goes in that direction. You see? Yeah.
Yes.
So that is the biomechanics again. So when you change position, and you do that also in your life, or fortunately, so that's a thing we could talk about afterwards. But when you change the position, then I ask a person if they are in a certain position. I imagine how the diaphragm is positioned inside of the rib cage, and then I ask the person to breathe into that specific area where it's easy to feel because of the pressure. And then because that makes space from the inside,
Yes.
a push from the inside that also stretches the outside. And then when you breathe out, you have that fantastic release where you get small and you get that nervous system release too. So yeah, I work very much with the guiding of the breath also. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also with the
switches.
slowing down the breath and placing the hands and feeling how it moves and breathe into the hands, etc. Yeah.
Are you putting the balls into the diaphragm at some points as well? Do you lay on the lay on the
I
ball?
know many people love. Again, it's because there is a tendency, in my point of view, to make everything hard, even breathing. Again, there's a tendency that how long can you hold your breath? How long can you do that and this and. So there is a tendency of performance in breathing, in breath work. And I think that is an area itself that is very useful. So I don't say it's not useful. It's very useful. But you should start somewhere else before going into that performance thing. And why I talk about it now is because typically many people like to put the balls around in the front, attacking the diaphragm. I find that very, very intensive for a start. It's not that you're not allowed to do it, and it depends whether it's a soft or hard ball, of course, or what size it has, etc., and with which person who does it, so what kind of a person and body. But typically, I would work from any other area. I always start on the back side, then I go to the sides, then I go to the front, the sternum, and the very last part is the abdomen and the diaphragm itself. The reason is because it is very, very intensive to go directly to the diaphragm, and some bodies accept it, a lot of the bodies doesn't. So it's too much. And if you don't release the other areas, what is the purpose? Because if you still have a stiff rib cage, of course, releasing the diaphragm in this area will release some movement in the rib cage, but typically not all of it. Yeah.
So interested.
Yeah.
What's the relationship between vagus nerve and fascia, if any? Is there a relationship there? And the reason I ask that is I am a very tight person, and I wonder if my tight fascia relates to my stress levels. Do you have any thoughts on this?
Can I take it from? Well, I don't think I have any scientific background saying that it's the vagus, but I can talk about the parasympathetic nervous system.
Please.
Yeah. So because it's kind of part of the same. So how I explain it to normal people that doesn't know anything, and I will do that here because then everybody can copy that and understand it. So if you have an area that is stiff, the brain have no information from that area because it is not movable. So you don't use it. There's very little information, proprioception, direct information to the brain. So the brain if it was here. It's easy because you can see it. So the brain really don't know how that area is working. Is it okay? Is it tense? Is it cold? Is it warm? How is it feeling? Is it okay, or is it dangerous? So when the brain loses information, is in lack of information from an area, it has a tendency, the brain has a tendency to think and interpret that, wow, it might be dangerous. I might be a little aware, a little anxious about what is this. So this fires the sympathetic nervous system, the stress system, the fight-flight, the speeder system. So starting to work with that area, even touching it daily, even rubbing it, even massaging it, then the brain gets information. And then the brain says, wow, is it just my sternum? I can release. I don't need to be aware of if there is a danger just around. So I can relax, I can let go, and I can enter my parasympathetic state because I don't need the sympathetic state, even though I'm just sitting here doing nothing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Thank you. It
So
does.
working with the stiff areas around that breathing body, then you help your brain switch, your nervous system, switch into the parasympathetic nervous system. And what does it do? It gives you the possibility to breathe optimal.
That's lovely.
You don't breathe optimal in sympathetic. Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to work with you, if they want to read your book? Where's the best place we can send them after this podcast?
Well, my book is unfortunately, it's only in Danish. It's right here. It's called When the Body Says No, Make the Contact Again. And a lot about breathing and psoas muscle and fascial tissue, etc. So that unfortunately is only in Danish. My English website is called 3dbreath.com. It's a free and a D and then breath.com. Remember when you move, Mike, when you tie your shoelaces or when you go to the floor to pick up something, then remember you should be able to breathe when you do that too.
Yes,
We can talk about that next time, maybe.
Let's do that in part 2.
Thank you.
Oh, no, you're very welcome. The pleasure was all ours. Thank you. Cheers, Lotte.
Bye.
It's that time for food for thought. Did you know that stress and tension could affect your fascia, breath, and body in this way? Your fascia is the scaffolding, the glue that holds you together. It is part of your connective tissue in your body. We will talk more about the fascia in another session. Did you know that the fascia could hinder communication to the brain? Were you aware of the importance of your fascia? What is your greatest takeaway today? If you appreciate this information, would you show it by pushing the thumbs up button, commenting on the questions asked here, and anything else you desire to share, and subscribe if you haven't already, along with ringing that bell, so that you are notified when I post a new episode. You can also private message me in the link below if you don't want to comment here. I hope you have enjoyed this episode and have gained some welcomed knowledge that is useful in your health journey. I invite you to continue on with me as we go through this vital information. I am positive that you will gain so much more knowledge that will be helpful in your health journey. I would like to close with this verse in Deuteronomy 30, verse 19. I have set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore choose life, that both thou and thy seed may live. Until next time, I hope you choose to live your best life now Choose life and blessing today and live life to the fullest and for His glory.